So we're back here, round number 7. Me and Devin are back. We're gonna do some more Pioneer. This is the second to last round, so 7 out of 8. A couple of the top tables drew in, so they're gonna punch their ticket to the top 8. We're gonna get somebody else. I assume the winner of this will be able to draw in round number 8. So we're gonna punch some more tickets to the top 8 here. So let's get ready to hop on down to the feature match area. Sounds like the players are all set. We're gonna watch Mono Green Devotion again against Izzet Phoenix. And Kora Benck is 5-1. We watched her play yesterday. 2 days ago was her birthday. Coming out from Denver, I believe. So Kora having a nice little run today. And Dan is a familiar face on the series as well. So let's get it started. So you told me, Devin, that you play quite a bit of this Mono Green Devotion deck, right?
Yes, and this is, I think, a matchup in general that's relatively close. The most important card in this matchup for sure, and I'm actually going to pull up Dan's deck list to see if he even has it, because it's a card that people have been cutting a lot, is Thing in the Ice. So if I pull up Dan's deck list, yeah, see, that's the thing. No copies of Thing in the Ice in the main deck for Dan. So Thing in the Ice is the one card that, really, Mono Green deck has a lot of setup, and Thing in the Ice is a card for Mono Green that's really hard to answer from the green side. So, Dan not having access to it is going to be a really, really big here for Kora.
Okay. And I'm taking a peek at Dan's deck list as well. It has 9 creatures. So 4 Arclight Phoenix, 4 Ledger Shredders, 1 Crackling Drake. When Drake Sasser and I did the Izzet Phoenix deck a couple rounds before you hopped in, there was only 8 creatures. There was only 4 Arclight Phoenix and 4 Ledger Shredders. So they removed those Thing in the Ice for whatever reason. That's just kind of conventional wisdom now, apparently. So
Yeah, it's, you got to make room for the Shredder somewhere. I do think that Shredder is a better card overall than Thing in the Ice. It's just this is kind of the one matchup where I think you would, given the choice, you'd probably rather have Thing in the Ice. But yeah, Ledger Shredder, very, very powerful card from the Phoenix side of things, because, as I'm sure we've seen before, it allows you to dump Phoenixes. It allows you to churn through your deck and, make your treasure cruises basically always only cost 1 mana, which is incredibly powerful. And definitely a really, really big addition here from Street Snook and Penna.
okay. Kora's got that Nykthos online. There is a Kiora. Gonna hit the battlefield.
Kiora for Kora.
Yeah, Kiora for Kora. Gonna make 1, 2, 3. And there's the old Grave Troll.
Yeah, and that'll draw a card off the Kiora, which is really, really nice. The really nice thing about Old Growth Troll in this matchup, there's not a lot of removal that Dan can have that even touches the Old Growth Troll. One of the only ways is the card that escapes my name, Lightning Axe. But the thing about Lightning Axe is Lightning Axe hitting Old Growth Troll is not the best proposition, because the troll comes back enchanted to and land, so the devotion essentially stays the same, but you're actually +1 mana, because when the troll is enchanted to a land, specifically a forest, it is makes the land tap for, I believe, an additional green.
Sure. All right. Well, we get to see pieces of the puzzle. This card was really impressive when we watched it in the previous rounds. That card just does kind of everything that Izzet Phoenix wants to do. Gets to put Phoenixes in the graveyard, gets to draw you some new spells and cantrips and all that stuff. So as you can see, Dan goes ahead and puts a Phoenix in the bin already. Off to a decent start.
Yeah, and then the best place to discard Arclight Phoenix is in the cleanup step.
Yeah. It's like 7 mana, down to 5, up to 12, I believe.
Math checks out. Yep. 7, 5, 12.
Yeah. Now I told Drake I'm not a green player, but I've certainly played some Nykthos in my time. So.
Oh yeah, back in the day.
Oh yeah. All right.
And I don't believe Kora milled a Storm the Festival. That's one of the things with Cavalier, which is the fact that it puts the cards in your graveyard is so huge. This is a really big play for Kora. Here's a Karn, the Great Creator.
Just a billion cards. I get to play. I mean, look at the battlefield difference. Look at the permanents. 3 for Dan, and Kora's got 10.
A lot more than 3.
They're now 12. Now 12. How about that? Because the Tormod's Crypt. That's a great pickup too.
Yeah, and I really, really like main phasing this Tormod's Crypt. Not only do you get the Phoenix, which you're going to want to get anyways, but it stops Dan from casting Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big deal. Good shout out there. Stops you from getting more cantrips online and all that. So Dan is in a really bad spot.
Yeah, and that was a card I wanted to highlight. That is probably the single, again, yet another matchup where Karn is the most important card because it's a way to give you access to main deck graveyard hate, which you normally wouldn't have access to. And the fact that, I mean, obviously, Kora had some mana floating, so it didn't really matter that Tormod's Crypt was free. But there's a lot of spots where the Phoenix opponent, or the Phoenix player can, play the pieces and have a full graveyard, and you only have access to a 4 mana Karn on turn 3 when you with a mana accelerant. So that Tormod's Crypt being free is really important and just a nice tool to have access to.
All right, so Dan gonna try and find some more pieces to the puzzle.
Run it back. The puzzle has not
Oh,
been completed yet.
that's right. Those are a bunch of Izzet Charms. A couple Izzet Charms in the main deck for Dan. I didn't see that in the other lists either.
Yeah, I think the other list, if I recall correctly, was playing Strategic Planning, which is another card that is very similar to Izzet Charm in the sense that it digs a couple of cards deep and helps you put phoenixes in the graveyard. The cool thing about Izzet Charm is if you draw the phoenix by other means, like if it's not off of the top 3 of planning, then you can just discard it from your hand, which is really nice thing for that Izzet Charm has going for it.
Sure. All right. Dan just spinning the old tires. Ready to move to the cleanup step, I think. Yeah.
It's the best step in the game.
Moves to the cleanup step, advances his board by 1 land. So not the best place to be here if you're in Dan's shoes. And Kora got to be fist pumping a little bit here.
Yeah, and I
Knowing
think if
that,
I'm in Kora's spot, I'm definitely going for a God Pharaoh statue here. Yeah, I like that a lot.
yeah, cool. I'll play this for 1,000,000.
I think Kora may have attacked with an Elvish Mystic that potentially would have been summoning 6, so it's possible that maybe Dan should be at 1 life higher. I'm not sure that it's going to change too much in the grand scheme of things, but it's possible that maybe we just maybe that was missed.
Okay. I think at any rate, Dan is pretty toast here. He's got a grip full of cards, but yeah, just gonna go ahead and pack it up. So, I mean, there's treasure cruises and other things, and you can find some stuff, but Kora's just, at full health, tons of creatures on the board, so gonna be pretty hard for Dan to come back from that. So, you get to see the power of the mono green deck there. Plays a Nykthos on turn 3, makes tons of mana, and is able to play like I think it was Kiora and Karn in the same turn. And it was super powerful. Goes and gets the hate piece that you want, and yeah, just kind of a clinic there in game number 1.
Yeah, and that's why Karn is so powerful. It's not only is it the interaction that you need on the turn that you play it, whether you can get something like a Damping Sphere, a Grafdigger's Cage, or a Tormod Script, but it also is which buys you a turn, and then the next turn it just goes and gets the Haymaker, whether it's Meteor Golem or God Pharaoh Statue or Sky Sovereign, anything along those lines. So Karn just does basically everything in this deck, and it's kind of the perfect home for it.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a peek at the deck lists here for these players, and we'll take a peek at Dan's list, see if he gets any help in the post board games. And I mean, these Aether Gusts are basically where you want to start. I mean, Alpine Moon obviously is quite good against Nykthos. I assume those are coming in regardless. And there's an Anger of the Gods hanging out there too.
Yep, 100%. We're definitely looking at the 2 Gusts, the 2 Alpine Moons, and the Anger. Not a big fan of anything else. I don't think this is a Jace, a Narset, or a Dispute matchup. Definitely not a Fry matchup. Potentially could consider Hullbreaker Horror, but I think that card being so slow is probably not where Dan wants to be. But yeah, the Angers, or excuse me, the Anger, the Alpine Moons, and the Gust definitely all want to come in here.
Yeah. And, there's obviously some cards that aren't very good. Like, he's got like these axes are pretty good. The impulse, he has like a 1-of impulse. I think you're just gonna see him kind of trim on some of like the blue cantrips, or even maybe the temporal trespass might be something you want to cut down on. It's I think it's just looks pretty tough for Dan though, just looking at his configuration.
Right, and as we talked about before, I think the biggest thing in this matchup was Thing in the Ice. Before this was, mostly before Streets of New Capenna. That card has mostly been cut from a lot of these Phoenix lists. But Thing in the Ice was the one way to not only kind of undo a lot of what the green deck was doing. It's just all permanents playing to the battlefield, but it was a way to race. You could play a Thing in the Ice on turn 2, flip it 2 turns later, and just attack them a couple of times with the thing, and that was the one way to beat them. But
All right, let's hop on over to Kora's deck and let's see. So for this one, it looks pretty similar. Has that 15 card sideboard basically been fleshed out at this point for the most part?
as far as the devotion deck is concerned, I think usually there's maybe one or two differences. Like I know that I have a potentially, or personally, I have a third Voracious Hydra. The Great Henge is a card that not a lot of people have, not everybody has. Unlicensed Hearst, part of Kieran, but for the most part, yeah, a lot of these are very very standard stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if because like once you play 4 cards in your deck, a lot of those sideboard slots are locked up basically, and it looks like most of them, the package is there. The only thing different really is a treasure vault and a great henge in this deck list. So those are kind of the differences from the deck that we just saw.
Yeah, Treasure Vault is kind of cool. There are definitely some spots where, especially if you're missing a land drop, you definitely want to Karn for a land. So being able to Karn for a Treasure Vault in those specific situations is pretty nice.
All right, cool. So let's see what we got here. I mean, Kora's deck, you're just looking for some accelerants. It sounds like lands accelerants and then one payoff. And for Dan, I mean, the chart, of course, is going to be good. Maybe like an impulse or an axe or something like that to kind of stunt Kora's growth is probably the best way you can start out here.
Yeah, Dan's just looking for a lot of that cheap removal, Fiery Impulse, Lightning Axe, things of that nature. Looks like we do have the answer, Strangle. So yeah, that's definitely good for Dan, trying to stunt Kora's growth. One thing I want to see is whether or not Kora has either the 2 mana ramp spell, so Sylvan Caryatid and Wolf Haven. The reason those cards are so huge, as we talked about before, is those don't die to the red spot removal. Caryatid is
Yeah.
hexproof and Haven's an enchantment, so being able to produce a mana accelerant that doesn't die to any of Dan's removal spells is really important.
A little awkward for Dan. Drew Spirebluff Canal for his second land of the game, and kind of puts him off sequence from going like Strangle Chart, of course, but that's pieces of the puzzle, so you can't complain too much.
See if we can put the puzzle together this game like we could in last game.
Yeah, I mean, we still got 1,000 pieces to go, so hopefully Dan can put them all together in the right. The way I do puzzles, Devin, and this may not surprise you, I take all the end pieces. Is this what everyone does? You take all the edge pieces and you build the outside first. Do you do that?
Oh, I do that too. Yeah, 100%. It's the easiest way to do it.
Okay, I think everybody does that, right? Just wanted to make sure. So Dan looks like he might have some of the end pieces, but Kora finds a Karn and goes in Tormod's Crypts again, which is very rude for Dan.
Yeah, same thing as last game. I like that play a lot because again, there's the Phoenix in the graveyard, so you're getting rid of that, but you're also preventing Dan from casting Cruise, which is arguably Dan's most individually powerful card in his entire deck. So I definitely like main phase in that Tormod script.
Yeah. All right. And Strangle gonna take out that Karn and then a Chart of Course. Not the worst. Not the worst.
Worth noting for Dan, only one red source, which can maybe cause some issues if he's trying to double spell with, like, let's say a Lightning Axe and another removal spell, things of that nature. So potentially something to watch out for.
I was gonna say this game is quite different than the previous game where Kora was able to accelerate into a million things, but now it looks like Kiora and the Old Growth Troll hit the battlefield, and there's Nykthos hanging out in hand, so Kora's gonna be able to refuel and restock the board here really quickly.
Yeah, and Kora's leftovers, I don't know if you caught a glimpse of it besides the Nykthos, but it was a Topiary Stomper, which is a relatively new addition that these green decks are picking up. A card that personally, maybe I'm not the biggest fan of, but what Topiary Stomper is good at is a couple of things. If you're flooding out, it can start attacking. It's a good body, and more importantly, it draws a card off Kiora. So if you're kind of running out of gas, it's a way to kind of keep the train rolling, as it were, to make sure that you can find more and more gas.
Sure, big dinosaur. I like it. Looks good. Looks good to me. So Yeah, it's a nice little synergy with Kiora to draw through your deck a little bit, and 7 lands, I think is what it is, right? Is it 7 or more lands? It's
7.
that's
And
pretty trivial. Yeah.
it comes with the land itself too, so it kind of fuels
Right.
itself, as it were.
All right. Lightning axing down the troll, and Dan's trying to preserve life total here and hopefully get to some bigger payoffs. Looks like there's a treasure cruise and a temporal trespass in hand here.
Yeah, and then this is kind of the stage of the game where the Phoenix deck gets kind of to it gets a lot more individually powerful, where it's trying to assemble Temporal Trespass plus Galvanic Iteration, which is you lead with a Galvanic Iteration, then you cast Temporal Trespass, you copy the Trespass, and you take 2 additional turns. Now, usually you're trying to set that up alongside a couple of creatures in play, maybe a Phoenix or a Shredder, and something along those lines. But here we see a Treasure Cruise, which is definitely a nice one.
Yeah, that's a good start. I know if you're trying to get your way back into the game, treasure cruise is definitely a good place to start. Man, tons of options.
Yeah, I think I see Opt, Lightning Axe, Trespass. Is that double Trespass? I think it might be double Trespass. And then I believe an additional land from Dan. The second Trespass, notably worse than the first one.
Yeah, not quite as good there. Not quite as good. I mean, it's good with Galvanic Iteration, but that's a different story. Different story.
Yeah. And there is
All
the
right.
Topiary Stomper. That's our lovely
Yeah.
4/4 dinosaur that'll get us a land, draw a card.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a new one here, and the art on that card is actually pretty cool. I love seeing the big old dinosaur just running through the streets. I'm pretty sure that's the card I'm thinking of. Yeah, check that one out. That's pretty good.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good
Some
stuff.
Jurassic Park vibes.
Definitely, most definitely. Plant dinosaur. That's extra scary. Oh yeah, it's Norm says it's a dinosaur chia pet, which honestly, that's probably the best description you could give of that.
It does kind of look like a Chia Pet if
It
you
sure
if you
does.
squint hard enough.
All right.
Got an
So
Oath of
once,
Nissa from Kora. Found 2
yeah,
lands and a Storm the Festival. Unfortunately for Kora, unlike Cavalier of Thorns, Oath does not put those cards in the graveyard, so the Storm's going to go back to the bottom.
we're at that scary point in the game again, though, where Cora has a million permanents and Dan just has 5 lands in play and not a ton going on. Although he does have quite a few cards, so there's that.
Is there any way this lair is just lethal by itself? I
I,
can't. It's hard to tell
I was
Devotion, so
I was just gonna say this layer of the Hydra is gonna be extremely scary.
that's 9, and then Kora untap the Nykthos, bring it down to 7, 16. I think after the Stomper,
Yeah,
I want to say it was an attack for 17. We'll have to see, get the
yeah,
updated life total. Okay, attack for 15. Just an attack for 15, no big deal.
uh, yeah. With your land, that's pretty nice. That's funny.
And that's another reason this green deck is so powerful is, it has that built-in utility with Lair of the Hydra. So if you have an abundance of mana, but you have nothing to do with it, like no payoff, like where Kora is, you still have access to that Lair of the Hydra, which even if your opponent's at 20 can just kill in one attack. And, if Dan doesn't have some way to answer it, which it's really hard to answer that card as it's a 20/20 or larger. Outside of a bounce
Yeah,
spell, I don't really know what Dan's supposed to do about that.
yeah. Lands and like I know someone's like, well, Underground Sea was created, but like lands have gotten so much better. Like as we've gone on through Magic, like the creature lands are just absurd. I saw Faceless Haven do some real damage. I mean, there's Kora's deck obviously has Nykthos. It has this Lair of the Hydra. It has the new Boseiju. I mean, we're not even talking about playing the same game anymore with the way lands are created nowadays.
Yeah, and I remember yesterday we got to see a little bit in action when I was doing coverage of Modern. We got to see some Ren and Boseiju action, which you can imagine. It was specifically against Charbelcher, which actually doesn't have lands in their deck. So that combination could just just stone rain your opponent to death. But
Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned lands just keep getting more and more powerful.
All right. Well, Kora grabs a Shadow Spear too. It's a pretty nice one to pick up.
Yeah, as if the 2020 layer wasn't big enough. Now it's a 21-21 with trample and lifelink.
Yeah, just not quite good enough, you know. What do we got? What do we got here for Dan?
Yeah, I'm looking over Dan's deck list. I don't think he has a single out. Is he doesn't have any bounce spells, so I don't think he can answer this. Oh, the Otawara. I did miss that.
Otawara?
Okay,
All right. Well,
that's a pretty good swing.
all right. Well, just got to deal 18 damage in the next couple turns.
I had missed that. Now, I don't recall if Kora has already played a land. It looks like she did. So that's actually really unfortunate because now she's not going to be able to replay that layer. And we'll have to see if Dan can kind of capitalize on that really, really big tempo swing. Dan's going to be looking for, some way to get an Arclight Phoenix into play, potentially a Ledger Shredder, and then combine that with the Trespass to, take a couple of turns with a creature in play. That's ideally what Dan's trying to set up here. But
Okay.
potentially, some light at the end of the tunnel for Dan here, potentially.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. We are in round 7, so almost through the Swiss. We have one more round of Swiss left. Me and Devin O'Donnell are bringing you some Pioneer coverage here today. I was with Drake Sasser this morning. We all appreciate you hitting that follow button if you're having a good time. We do these events basically every month, so it's good to tune in. Make sure again hit that follow button to get notified when the stream goes live. And Devin and I got this round, and then 4 more, the elimination round. So it's going pretty well today so far.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. We see these players are both 5-1. I'm interested to see kind of what the rest of the top of the metagame looks like. I did, kind of my own little breakdown of. I was looking over deck list and tried to do like some small, percentages to see exactly what the metagame was look like. Green was the most played deck, but to be honest with you, it looked really, really diverse in terms of the spread of the metagame. So really interested to see, which of those decks rose to the top. If we got any of the sweet one-offs that sneak their way into the top 8.
I think I just looked at the standings from going into this round. So round 7 out of 8, and in the top 8 deck list, 7 out of the 8 archetypes were different. So that's seems pretty healthy to me so far.
Yeah, that's definitely a place where you want to be, and I think, like I was saying earlier, the banning of Winota mostly, that was the kind of the turning point where a lot of people were, that was kind of the most played deck. A lot of people were trying to gear their matchup towards it, and the banning of Winota specifically just opens up a lot of avenues and different things that you can do within the format that you couldn't do before because your deck just couldn't really match up to Winota.
Sure.
All right, we got a time walk here, and by that I mean Temporal
Yeah.
Trespass.
All right. So
So we're taking a turn. The problem is we got really not much to do with that turn,
yeah, I'm wondering how giant this Crackling Drake is, and if it even matters at this point.
Potentially could be extremely large.
Yeah. So well, we're gonna find out, I suppose.
We need
Maybe.
a Crackling Drake die similar to the Tarmogoyf die.
Could you imagine? I was having a laugh at this earlier. It's like sometimes you like draw your card for the turn, and you know how it is with the the old Snapcaster look through the graveyard. Nothing to see here. Don't worry. I'm just checking out my graveyard. What do you mean? And that's kind of how the Crackling Drake is. You pick up the graveyard in your exile zone. They're like, oh, your Crackling Drake got it.
Yeah, or the Karn move with the devotion side of things, where you draw your
Oh
card
yeah.
and then immediately look at your sideboard. I wonder what I could have drawn.
Don't worry. I just want to make sure that there's 15 cards here. That's all that's going on. All right, here's Crackling Drake, and looks like there's actually a Lightning Axe in Dan's hand. There's that meteor golem
Right.
again.
Meteor
Nice
Golem
one.
is excellent because it's going to get to kill that Crackling Drake.
Yep.
And Kora did replay that layer of the Hydra. So should be more than enough next turn. And let me take a look at Dan's deck list. Yeah, I only see one copy of Otawara. So other than that, there is, yeah, I don't think there's anything. Oh, actually, Aether Gust, because if I recall correctly, I believe the land is green. So Aether Gust could be a potential out to that as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Dan's definitely maneuvered this game very well, especially with that Otawara. Kora went all in on that one turn with the lair of the Hydra, and definitely, yeah, it was one of those weird things where I wonder, if Kora, obviously she didn't know about the Otawara, but had she not played her land first, then she could have replayed the lair of the Hydra that turn. But
Sure.
the fact that she, basically had to take a turn off of replaying that means that now we're giving Dan an additional draw step. So.
Yeah. So Dan has op. This must be a good one if he's going to tank on it for a minute here. It's look like Hole Breaker. What is it called? Hole Breaker Horror. Is that the name of that card?
Yeah, it was. I think it was one of those fancy Innistrad double feature arts. But I believe you're
Yeah.
right. I think it was a Hullbreaker Horror.
That one. That ain't enough at this point. I don't think.
No, that I don't think that one beats a 22/22 lifelink trampler or whatever it
Trampling.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty good. All right.
Where are we making a 4/4 with the old growth troll? That makes a lot of
It
sense.
it looks like that's what's happening here. Just keep attacking over and over again. All right. We're gonna untap some mana here.
Yep, draw a card off the Kiora.
Yep.
And we'll,
All right.
again, we'll see if Dan. Basically, this game's going to come down to whether or not Dan has the Aether Gust. Now, not only does he need Aether Gust for the lair of the Hydra, but he also needs something on top of that because Kora does have, the 4/4, the 3/3 Meteor Golem, as well as the Llanowar Elves. So, more than enough, cards that can get into the red zone here. So Dan's going to need a couple of answers here.
Yeah, he definitely has Lightning Axe. Looks like Lightning Axe Island, and I can't make out that third card, but I don't think it's Aether Gust. So
Yeah, if it was, I think that might be enough, right? Because you axe the no, right? Because you axe the 4/4, gust the layer, and you still take lethal with the meteor golem and
yeah,
the elf.
the
So even
Golem.
that's not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Love this for Cora. Just go ahead and make all the mana. Do whatever you want. It's your time. I mean, you're on camera, not me. So do whatever you want to do. I don't need to go to the bathroom or anything like that. Just take your time. All right. So yeah,
All
Cora
right,
gonna go
there
ahead
it
and
is.
move to 6-1. So congrats to Cora. And again, I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a standings master or anything like that, but I assume she'll be able to draw into the last round and punch her ticket to the top 8. So really nice showing there, and really played super well against the Phoenix deck. So, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Congratulations to Cora, and like you said, we'll see if she can go ahead and get that draw in. And I think that is a very good example, very indicative of how we talked about before with kind of the thing in the ice versus not thing in the ice, and how that
yeah,
sways the matchup so much. That definitely showed there.
yeah, I agree with you. And like it felt like Cora had a game plan, and Dan just kind of spun his tire. It felt like Dan didn't really do much for 2 games, right? I don't know if I'm misreading that. Just felt like spun his tires a bunch, and again with only 9 creatures, it's like if you don't have a shredder, you don't really do much other than cantrip through your deck a bunch until you find these Phoenix. And if your opponent is prepared with Tormod's Crypt in this case, or some sort of graveyard hate, you just kind of look silly just going through your whole deck. So that's the one problem I always had with this Izzet Phoenix deck. While it does do very powerful things, when that plan doesn't happen, you just kind of draw a bunch of cards and cycle through your deck, and you just get frustrated with it. So Dan hopefully able to bounce back in that last round, but good showing overall today, anyways.
Yeah, it's almost like Dan's deck is more of a combo deck than anything. Like the combo being Temporal Trespass plus Galvanic Iteration, because you're losing that big threat and thing in the ice. You kind of, either you can get some chip shot damage in with Shredder and Phoenix, but Temporal Trespass plus Iteration is really kind of how you turn the corner and Dan wasn't able to assemble that, and I think that's how Kora was able to take it.
Sure. All right. So what's next on our list? We got a backup match, or we done for the round? What do we got? We got 14 minutes left. I'm gonna listen in here and see what we got. Sounds like we have a backup match. Anyone? Anyone? Wait, maybe I can't hear. Can you hear, Devin?
Sounds like we have a backup match. Looks like we are early in game 2, and we can bring it right in live for you.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So let's take us down there, and we'll get it rolling. Or you can stare at me for a little bit too. That's good too. I like that. All right. Magic the Gathering. Here we are. So Jeffrey Carr, Rakdos combo. So it's another Cat Oven deck against Gregory Johnson, who's on Azorius control. I thought Blue White was going to have a pretty good showing today. I mean, that could have been a missed call, but 5-1's not bad.
Right, yeah. When I was looking at the amount of players, I think that Azorius Control, was, I think it was the about 5th or 6th most represented deck. So there's definitely a decent amount of Azorius in the room. And we'll see if, see if it gets the right matchups. I think there's definitely, depending on how the Azorius Control deck is configured, you can definitely kind of sway the certain matchups in one way or the other with your choices on your flex spots.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking a peek too. Looks like there was 16 of the decks today were Azorius control. So
we got, this is game 2, it appears. And looks like the Azor Gregory definitely. We got some good stuff going on here. We have an active Wandering Emperor, but Jeffrey does have a Croxa, so we'll have to see if Gregory has an answer to that.
Yeah, Croxa's a good one. That's for sure. And there was a Dream Troller in hand too. That one's pretty good. It hurts to lose that. That's for sure.
Yeah, looks like that one got discarded, and this Croxa might just be able to kind of go the distance.
Wow.
Yeah, we got. Oof.
Good looking
Yeah,
Thoughtseize
and then we're
there.
gonna.
So Thoughtseize in companion with Croxa is going to be pretty good.
We got a Devil 2 with a plethora of stuff that we can sacrifice. I think those are all food. Yeah, those should be all food.
Okay.
But yeah, then we also have the Croxa going on here, which is going to get Gregory's last card. Looks like the Wandering Emperor is going to get taken care of, and there's not really a lot left for Gregory here. Definitely gonna need a big top deck here. Taking a look at Gregory's deck list, we have some portable holes to be able to deal with the Croxa, March of Otherworldly Light. Also, we could draw Memory Deluge, things of that nature to kind of get us back in the game. But Gregory's gonna need a good one here.
All right, picks some
and
up.
That is not a good one.
All right, picks them up. So I believe it looks like Jeffrey Carr wins the match 2-0. Is that what we got? Those are accurate.
That's what I saw.
All right, looks like 2-0 for Jeffrey. So Rakdos going to beat Azorius Control in our 7th round here. So we're going to get a Rakdos deck in the top 8, it looks like, too. So 1 Rakdos, 1 Mono Green Devotion. I saw, I believe Zach Allen was actually 6-0 going into this round. And he was playing some sort of control deck, I believe. So that's usually what he plays. So yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm excited for our 8th round to start up, and we're going to get some more people punching the top 8.